PropTech Power Talks. I'm so excited for today's episode. We have two people from LMRE joining us who will introduce themselves. Louisa, please go ahead with your introduction.
Hi, thank you for having us. Having Tabitha and I on your podcast. We're super excited for the event. I think it might be our third time attending it next year. So we're super pumped. But quick introduction to myself and LMRE. So my name's Louisa Dickens. I'm the co-founder. We are a built environment tech search firm, and we were started back end of 2018. So we recruit for in PropTech, Contech and Climate Tech across all commercial roles. So that could be anything from C-suite to anything that sort of touches revenue, so business development, account management, customer success, operations, marketing. And our core markets are North America and Europe. And we have developed some amazing relationships with some of our partners, obviously event companies, of course, like London PropTech Show, and other VCs like 𝗛𝗏𝗏𝗀, 𝗛𝗏𝗏, and so forth. But the reason why I say that is podcasts, events, and everything like this is so important to obviously educate the community. And, you know, it's a great way of developing relationships, having a bit of fun. And we're really grateful to be on this. And we're very excited to start next year off with your event. And I'll let Tabitha introduce herself as well.
Yeah, I mean, like following off the back of what Louisa said, thanks for obviously having us here. My name's Tabitha. I head up our global team for PropTech. So that's the vertical that my team spearhead. And we really work with any companies, you know, from pre-seed through to post-IPO. That could be anything from commercial real estate data aggregation to property management software. So yeah, I guess that's a little quick intro on myself as well.
Oh, thank you both for your brief introduction. Louisa, let's start with you. We were anticipating the salary report for quite a while now. And what are the key findings from your recent salary report regarding the salary trends in PropTech?
Yeah, for sure. Well, I think it's quite timely to be, even though this podcast is slightly delayed down to me, it's quite timely to be talking about this, because I think so many other business owners, which I'm speaking with, are all looking at, I guess, next year and hiring and budgeting and their team and how we can get them motivated. So I'll start off with like one of the biggest trends which we saw, which is one of the top questions we keep getting asked. And that is basically, what are we doing in terms of going back to the office? And like I said, our markets are North America and Europe, and you can't compare either market. Like in the UK, obviously lots of people are going back to the office. In the US, it's very much sort of a remote first approach. But if you're looking at sort of overall performance of your team, our stats basically show that majority of employees prefer spending 2 to 3 days in the office. And employers who adopt this model will basically see higher employee satisfaction, engagement, and lower overall turnover. So I think we're all looking at how can we do more with less. And also just say from personal experience, you know, the happier your company is, the better the performance. So I think this trend is definitely food for thought. Another at EMEA, we're three women on this call. There was a bit of a shocking and disappointing data point, which showed that women were on average 17.3% paid less than men. So this gender pay gap, we all talk about it. I know it's something which, you know, is being addressed. There's improvements being made. But it's crazy to think, and I guess our space, PropTech, I know you could say it's been going on since the 1970s with LMRE and Yardi, but it's still, we've seen so much recent growth. It's almost like a fairly sort of new sector. Like, why are we still facing, why is this still sort of happening when we could sort of address it? So going into 2025, me and my wonderful team, we're very much going to be holding like clients accountable for that. To see what we can do to obviously help have a more equitable pay. And then the last one, which is the importance of culture. I think tech businesses were all very good at, doing all these great marketing bits about company cultures, these really fun, sexy videos, and that's all about how we attract people and get, a million days holiday a year. But it actually, this our salary report showed it is super important. It's one of the top driving factors, excluding if we look at obviously base salaries. And candidates are moving for roles where employees really focus on company culture and well-being. And I can also say at LMRE, like when we hire people, and Tabitha's obviously became a manager a year ago now, I think has 5 or 6 people in her team. But when we interview, it's very much ensuring that whoever's joining the business embodies our sort of values. And it's also, our values are driven by leadership. So having businesses that really focus on that will help you really attract the best talent that's sort of aligned with hopefully your mission. But that's basically 3 trends which we saw. And obviously anyone who's got any questions about the salary survey, obviously happy to delve into it.
Well, thank you. Those insights are quite telling. Tabitha, turning to you, what recent hiring trends have you observed in the PropTech industry?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think there's been a lot more consolidation within role typology, which ironically reflects the general state of the market. You know, we've had a lot more clients asking us for roles that combine both account management and new business, for example, when previously, you know, you maybe would have a whole suite of BDRs and account executives and account managers across different functions that all fed into that sales functionality. So we're getting a lot more consolidation within one role, you know, like true land and expand account executives or technical account executives that can both source new business and double up as a sales engineer and do these kind of more technical sales presentations and demos. So that's something that we've seen change dramatically. And I think in general, the hiring trends we've seen change from even 2022 until now. You know, in the past, when there was this big boom in investment in PropTech in 2021, there was a lot of different hires being made all at once. But I think it's fair to say that PropTech is very much a market of sheep, not shepherds. And it's been a lot of companies looking to see what the next person does before the domino falls on their side. So end of 2022, you know, when the VC market first started to constrict, we saw a lot of product and engineering and technical adjacent hiring happening so that people could better prime their products for investment potential. But then we got into 2023 and moving almost into the beginning of this year as well, actually, and everyone was like, well, it's all well and great that we have this amazing product, but now there's no revenue because everyone laid off their sales teams. And so this year for us, we've had a lot of, I guess, repeat hires. So it's been a lot of account executives. You know, the first half of the year, there was a lot of new business hires happening. And then end of this year, it was a lot more post-sales hiring happening. So it's been a very cyclical effect, I'd say, for the last year.
Wow, it's always interesting to hear about the latest in hiring trends. Louisa, back to you. What is the current outlook for bonuses, equity, and other benefits in PropTech?
Yeah, good question. Yeah, again, obviously everyone's coming up to getting their Christmas bonus, sort of end of year is coming up for a lot of businesses in sort of April, March time. Now, it varies from company to company, from stage to stage, but what the data showed is that 55% of respondents do not have equity in their company. 80% of those in high level roles like C-suite and exec do have equity, whilst only 20 to 30% of those in junior roles have it. I think there's more of a focus if you, and I'm just presuming people who, you know, are listening and asking this question, they're working out how, and like me as well, how can you attract talent to your company? And that's, we've got to look at your benefits. So popular benefits, obviously healthcare is something we're definitely looking at LMRE, you know, paid holiday leave, you know, flexible working, which we sort of went into. That's, you know, and it's all about giving your team autonomy and sort of trust, obviously off the back of sort of hard work. And then stuff like life insurance. Less common benefits are transport and gym memberships. But like I said, this sort of varies from where your business is located.
Yeah, well, bonuses and equity seem to be quite the hot topics. Tabitha, regarding valued skills, are there particular skills or backgrounds that are increasingly valued in PropTech?
Yeah, I mean, I think for sure. I think naturally I think in the past, it was very much if you were hiring in PropTech, you would hire from PropTech. I think as time has gone on, and I think this probably touches upon some of what we'll speak about later too, but a lot of people have moved out of the industry, honestly, in the last year, and I think that's because there was a lot of instability in the space. And so a lot of talent moved away from the space that came from a tech background. I think something that's become increasingly valued, especially as products try to consolidate or even own a stake in the market more thoroughly, I think we've seen a lot of hiring actually coming directly from industry, being from the traditional real estate side. So we've seen a lot of companies hiring from the client basis that they're serving. And I think that that's been quite interesting, because let's say you are a property management software and you hire an asset manager or someone from the owner operator side who in theory would have decision making power, it instantly adds a credibility when that person is then selling your product back into that market. So we've definitely seen an increasing trend towards people hiring that type of profile.
Yeah, it's great to see the industry valuing such diverse skills. On leveraging insights, Louisa, how can our industry effectively leverage the insights from the salary report to foster development and drive improvement?
Well, one thing obviously which I spoke about is, and what my team, I've got quite a female heavy team. It's sort of chain. We've got 2 guys joining in the new year, but I think we really need to work out how can we get more women to this space, and women, I think, like the salary reports show, people don't just go for base salaries, but that is obviously a driving factor. I think we need to ensure like equal pay. Like, why should women be paid less? It generally, there's no reason for it. I think it's also like inviting more women to the table. There's the same people get invited to speak at sort of panels. I think I've been in this space since sort of 2018, and just because I've been here longer, I get invited to do more speaking slots, but my team are way better at speaking. Like, you can probably, those listening to this, realise that Tabitha is way more clued up today. So I think it's just making sure there's more equal opportunities and inviting people to events, speaking opportunities, panels, whatever it may be, getting them sort of involved. A big thing to drive like development and improvement, that comes down to working on your sort of culture, and like that can also to be focusing more on like learning and development. How often do you do that with your team? Is the management sort of involved in that? Like, with all things which I'm talking about this because we're also doing this. Our managers are now getting an extra management sort of training. We do constant learning development, and that has really helped LMRE in 2024, and this is something we're going to be investing in 2025. And I think so many it's all about practice what you preach, and that's what's been really successful for LMRE this year. Tabitha, have you got anything to say? You're obviously very much more sort of involved on the ground when it comes down to recruitment and hearing things.
Yeah, I think just like when it comes to, I think it was really surprising to us to see that there was such a pay gap between men and women. And I think that really what the problem is people aren't necessarily actively making the choice to pay women less. I think that everyone is preaching equity and inclusion in their companies these days. Now, whether that's a reality or not is obviously a separate question, but I think unconscious bias is really what the problem is. They're doing this subconsciously, which is what the problem is. So I think, internal HR teams or even external management consultancy businesses who are addressing, C-suite at high levels and structuring teams and change management, we really need to work out how we combat this with unconscious bias training. How do we invite internal onboarding resources to tackle this head on? Like, these are all questions that companies should be considering at a senior level.
I think also, like, going back into that, so we're doing, and we spoke about what sort of hiring trends we're seeing right now. Our LMRE's been, the amount of retained roles we're being asked to work on is literally like quadrupled, which is great. We love that. We love sort of being search-led and working in a strategic way. But we do our best to get more, provide diverse, like a talent pool, like there's 6 to choose from, but very much hiring managers are very set. Like, I want to see them come from real estate, then gone into finance, whatever it could be. But unless they open up to sort of adjacent industries, like real estate and tech is all phenomenal. It's very sort of male heavy. And so going to these C-suite roles, it's all about, right, what skills are sort of transferable for these? And quite often there's loads, and everyone's got their opinion whether you can pick up the real estate or the tech side. But for a lot of these roles, if it's C-suite, if it's like a CEO, it's all about like someone's mindset and skills. And I personally think they're transferable. But obviously, whatever a founder wants, we will take their direction. But that's just my 2 cents on it.
Yeah, using those insights strategically can make a big difference. About hiring challenges, Tabitha, what are some challenges companies are facing in hiring for PropTech role?
Sure. Well, the market has changed, first of all, from being candidate-led to client-led. I think that some companies may see that as an advantage, but what I mean by that is, I think previously when there was a boom in funding in the space, there was less talent endemic to PropTech than there were roles being advertised. And so candidates kind of dictated their price. There were much higher salaries, for instance, in our 2022 survey versus now, whereby the industry is somewhat plateaued. So, previously you'd have an account executive in New York, let's say, who was asking for $100,000 as a base salary, but they only had 2 years of sales experience. And that's because people were really desperate for that PropTech exposure. I think as time's gone on and the industry has kind of grown and then gone down with this kind of bell jar effect in terms of the growth, there's been a lot of layoffs, and so clients have had more to pick from in terms of talent. But then it's become really hard to identify because there have been so many layoffs. It's not necessarily always because the talent is poor and that's why it's been laid off. It's because the industry has had to change due to the funding landscape. So it's been very hard for clients to work out who the good people are or who they need for the context of their business versus not. And so it's made our jobs easier in some ways, but then in others, I think that it's a lot of people have moved industry, as I said, so it's become harder to find the right people as the years gone on. And I can kind of see this reverse cycle happening whereby we kind of get to the point that we were in 2021 again, where enough people have moved out of industry, but then the industry right now seems to be picking up a bit, and so people are now hiring into industry again, and so you might get this further inflation on salaries into 2025. So I think that the challenges that companies are facing is just finding the right talent. As I said earlier, these more consolidated roles, finding the right people to fulfill those requirements. And companies are at a point where they can't afford to make the wrong hire. They can't afford to be hiring someone that doesn't work out and then they're replacing that person in 3 to 6 months. They really need the return on investment. So that's, I guess, another reason why we're finding ourselves in kind of higher demand for some of these sales roles.
Yeah, those challenges can certainly be tough to navigate. Let's look at the tech impact. Louisa, what impact is technology having on traditional real estate roles within PropTech companies?
So we get asked this, well, we used to get asked this more because I think everyone is sort of scared of tech, everyone's scared of AI taking up people's sort of day-to-day roles. It's not the case. It's obviously, like Tabitha was saying, we saw a massive increase in roles where they are looking for people with that real estate experience when it comes down to customer success, account management, business development, people that understand the real problems that real estate is sort of facing. And in the last, it must be sort of 6 months. I don't know the exact stats in it, but obviously you can tell by as LMRE looks to hire again, we've seen like a steady increase of roles by about, Tabs, would you say something like 20% each month in the last 6 months?
Probably very much something like that, yeah.
So I say tech in terms of, I like to say it's having a positive impact, but Tabitha, what would you add to that?
I guess I think it depends. In fairness, I think that generally speaking, I think that there's been a massive influx in tenant engagement softwares, and I think that the impact that that's been able to have for a lot of property management firms, owners, operators has been huge. As Lou said, like the AI buzz and trend it's ongoing, and it's ongoing for a reason. I think that AI has been able to take out a lot of the manual labor tasks, especially for brokers and agents and valuation teams. A lot of these tasks, let's say, 70% of some agents and brokers' time is taken up by just manual data entry. And so if we can automate a lot of that for them, it means that they can actually do what the core of their job should be versus just admin. Obviously, it's difficult because we need to make sure that AI is, and similarly to how previously we've invested in PropTech more generally, that you're investing in solutions which aren't just overlooked should almost be overlooked but aren't, due to like the buzz of the word that is AI. I think it's important that technologies are being vetted and invested in properly, and it's really hard to say whether the industry is doing that right now because it has been such a surge. So it will be interesting to see which AI solutions stand the test of time versus are forced down the route of M&A after their kind of seed stage Series A.
Yeah. But then it comes down to also, if you look at we're just focusing on the tech, we saw in the last couple of years, obviously slightly challenging times, tech budgets or innovation teams, investment from the real estate side being cut. When we set up LMRE, we're hiring so much data, product, innovation, and that lots of those teams have decreased. They've let a lot of people go as everyone's been focusing on revenue adjacent roles. And so even though they're still piloting or using a lot of technology, it's like, how useful is it if they don't have the right skills in their team or understand really how to implement and utilize it? So in that way, when they are spending money on technology, but they don't have the internal teams to know how to really use it, then I would say it's probably not impacting in the positive way. And I know on the tech side, the founders who are like, great, we just won this, real estate client, but they're not happy with us, but they don't, they haven't got the team or the time to really understand how to utilize it. So I think we've got a hell of a long way to go. Obviously, those listening on the real estate side, if you need help there, we can. And then, like we said, with the tech businesses looking to hire those real estate people to communicate with, their customers in the real estate side, we can help you guys do that too.
Yeah, the landscape is definitely shifting. Tabitha, considering the broader economic picture, how do you foresee the current economic environment affecting hiring in PropTech?
The current economic environment is definitely creating a mixed but cautious outlook for hiring. I think while some areas are experiencing contraction, others are still definitely thriving just because of the evolving demand. For instance, I think, economic uncertainty and reduced investor confidence have led to a decline in PropTech job opportunities. I think mid-2024, this year, in June, there was only 580 PropTech job openings that were recorded globally, which definitely indicates a downturn tied to, broader tech industry layoffs and restrained expansion efforts. But many companies are really focusing on their core operations, as I said earlier, scaling back on these kind of strategy hires or nice to have hires, I hesitate to say, and definitely delaying growth plans to conserve cash and prioritize that profitability, that end goal. So we're seeing a lot more functional core hires being made around the beating hearts of the organizations, whether that's the revenue function, the tech function. We're seeing more immediate hires within those categories. I think in terms of some of the strategic implications, companies are moving towards that more cautious hiring practice. I think regions like Europe and Asia traditionally have been more growth conscious anyway, and have kind of always put revenue first, versus the US that's been the Uno reverse of that and has been more growth on revenue focused. And typically, on this side of the world, we look to the US to really see how, because typically what they do kind of impacts us a year later, and they're kind of setting the path. So it's interesting to see how what's happened there has made us even more cautious over here. So I think there's definitely going to be a more sustainable approach to hiring and business development moving forwards, which links back to what we were saying about consolidation in hiring as well. So I guess, the PropTech sector will face challenges due to the broader economic pressures. It's not an area or an industry that has sadly been able to beat that wave. It's definitely fallen subject to it in many ways, but I think there's been some really successful adaptation that we've seen, and a lot of companies have come out stronger. Some obviously did fall to kind of some very sharky term sheets on the M&A side, but others have done ridden the wave and done well because of it. So yeah.
It's crazy what you're saying about the jobs. I literally looked at some data. We've just, I spoke about partnerships in the introduction. We've just had a partnership with Matt Knight, the Foundation of Real Estate. They've created a job board called FIRE, obviously Foundation of Real Estate. And this morning, something like 3,100 jobs were live. Now, bear in mind, we've literally just collaborated with them and a few of our VC partners I also mentioned earlier to create but it's now needed in PropTech. Now people, as Tabitha said, now people are sort of coming back to it. Now it's slightly sexy space. Now investment is slightly, slowly coming back. People are going to want to see this as a proper sort of career. So those listening in, if they are looking, we're here to sort of consult them about the different opportunities you can go into. Our salary surveys show that salaries are good, and there are good sort of benefits, and people on average are pretty happy in this space. Zeenish, I don't know if you like it or not, but
well, yes.
I'm sure I'm sure you see plenty of happy people at the London PropTech show. But yeah, the market is picking up. I guess to sort of sum it up, jobs are coming in. Obviously, we're happy at sort of LMRE. I know Tabitha, we're recording this in 9th of December, and we are so busy. No one's allowed on holiday. So we're pretty hopeful for 2025. We just came back from a bunch of events in the US, and obviously the UK market often follows after the US. And the general consensus from VCs is a lot of follow-on investments are going to be announced, and growth is going to start again. So hopefully with the elections done, we're going to start to see some growth. But we think it's crossed.
Oh yeah, that's quite interesting. So my last question to Louisa would be, what types of roles are becoming obsolete or less common due to advancements in PropTech?
On the real estate side, on the tech side, or what are we sort of angling at here?
Well, both.
Both. You gotta be careful what you say here.
I think it goes back to what I was saying as well, Lou. I think a lot of it is these strategy hires. I think, from my side, a lot of these companies, as they consolidate inwards, some of these strategy hires are like kind of nice to haves. In many cases, that's probably unfair, and they probably are like very needed in terms of like the strategic movement and operation of the business. And then a lot of these other kind of admin natured roles, or in some case like valuation adjacent roles, some legal roles that perhaps are more junior, which AI can replicate. That's what I'm seeing. Louisa, I don't know if there's anything you wanted to add there as well. It was your question.
No, well, Tabitha obviously is very much more sort of on the ground, speaking to candidates the whole time. I think we've just, as we said, we're seeing so much more sort of more growth of opportunities in terms of people wanting that real estate knowledge within sort of tech now. So obviously I'm going to approach from a sort of positive angle, saying we're not seeing that, and we're seeing more growth in sort of roles with that sort of skill set.
Yeah, well, that was really an informative session. Thank you both for joining me today, and to our listeners, stay tuned for more PropTech Power Talk episodes. Thank you.